It's David. Welcome back to Gem and MTG, where we talk about graded Magic the Gathering cards. Today's an awesome day. I have a special episode for you all, actually two episodes, where I interviewed Saint Hung. He came out to Gemmin headquarters, came over here, we recorded a couple conversations together, and I'm bringing that to you for your enjoyment. So this is a long talk for the diehards who are really into this stuff. Saint is a wealth of knowledge. He's seen it all. He's a very prolific buyer and seller in the marketplace, administrator of the All Graded Magic Facebook group, and just a guy with a ton of experience and a ton of connections in the world of graded cards. So had a lot to say. I think it was a great conversation. I'm really excited to bring it with you. If you enjoy content like this and you're not already a subscriber here on Gem and MTG, hit that subscribe button and join in the fun, because we're going to be talking about graded cards all the time here. All right, without any further ado, let's get right into this. So, first off, Saint, welcome.
Thanks
Gem
for
and
having me.
MTG, great to have you here. Special celebrity episode.
No, please, not.
Oh,
Don't call me a celebrity.
Yeah, definitely.
We're just enthusiasts, man.
Yeah,
So
definitely enthusiasts.
like you, I love graded cards. I happen to admin two graded groups on Facebook. The number 2 one in Magic the Gathering, the number 1 and only one in Flesh and Blood. And I also run Fabled Hunters. So Fabled Hunters,
good channel.
YouTube
Check
channel.
out Fabled Hunters.
Yeah, thank you.
Right on. So, Saint, talk to me about your background in Magic the Gathering. Are you someone who got started a long time ago? How long have you been playing?
Oh yeah, I started back in 1994 when I think I was a freshman in high school, and Revise had just come out. I played hard. I took a fancy to it immediately. I was not good enough to play Type 1. No, I was good enough to play Type 1. I could not afford the cards necessary for Type 1 back then. And instead I played Type 2, which is known as Standard today.
Yep.
And I played Type 2 for a solid 4 years throughout high school. And I actually was in some of the teen leagues. I actually competed in the normal adult Pro Tour leagues, and even qualified for the first Pro Tour, not Pro Tour New York. I whiffed on Pro Tour New York, and I think I qualified for Pro Tour Germany. But being one of those Asian kids, stereotypical Asian kids, where we had to play the violin, the flute, have like a 3,000 SAT, and all for math, and I had to be doctor and president. There's no way that my parents would let me pursue that magic career, because it was unheard of back in the 90s. Anyways, I digress. I played a lot of Magic. I got out in 97, not of my own volition. I had my Magic collection stolen from me.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that was a forced out.
Yeah.
And at 17 years old, I had a $50,000 Magic collection. It was 97.
Wow.
Worth $50,000.
Oh, in 97,
in 97 it was worth $50,000.
Oh my God! You could add a couple zeros to that.
Yeah, we can add a couple zeros to it now. Some beta, like pages of dual lands, like pages of 9 of every dual land, plus pages of what was it? Mana drains. I had Moxen in there. It was crazy, but that was my force out. Yeah, that was my force out. But in 2017, 20 years later, 20 years later, I got back in. I got back into Magic. I started by playing really hard, and then I realized that climbing the ladder had significantly more steps, and significantly younger people, and the meta had changed.
Yeah.
Turn 1,
What
turn
format?
2.
What format were you playing?
Played Standard. I played Standard
when
I came back in 17.
Okay.
Because Type 2 was my thing,
Yeah.
I didn't really know of anything. Like, they were like, at my local game store, it was like, every night was Standard night, but like Wednesdays, this, secret group would come in at 9 p.m. and there was that 3-hour slot on Wednesdays where they'd play Legacy. And that was the meta of my LGS, because, and then Vintage was unheard of, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I heard Modern had a following, but the LGS just wanted a all-inclusive type of group.
Yeah.
So Modern was somewhat cost prohibitive. Not as cost prohibitive as Legacy, but it seems there's a Legacy crowd in New York City. A big Legacy crowd. They just love their dual lands, and they lobbied for it, and they have their little 3-hour block. But yeah, I didn't even know about that crowd until I played for about 2 full years of Magic. Yeah.
Yeah, I got back in it around Kaladesh in like 2016.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
just
you're
out
right.
of like boredom, and kind of I was living in another state at the time and didn't have all that much to do, and I was like, oh man, I haven't played Magic in a while, and I just started going to FNM, and I was just started playing Kaladesh Standard after a long time. So how about graded cards specifically? So you had a long break between 97 to 2017.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, and so did you get right into graded cards? Because it's kind of funny because I had a very similar path. Like I had taken a break for a while. Like I still played kitchen table with my brother and some friends. You know, every 6 months or a year or two while we're at home. But when I got back in around 2016, shortly after I started getting into graded cards, just kind of out of pure chance, happening to stumble upon one.
Okay.
So how did you get into graded cards?
I got into graded cards by just slowly, a very, very gradual 17, probably wasn't till 18, full year and a half it took me to get into graded cards because I played the game. Then I thought about the financial value. It reminded me of the financial value. And then people at my local play group were talking about fetch lands. And then, oh, God forbid, Allison, who comes in on Tuesday nights, just got her first Savannah. Ooh. And I'm like, what? That sounds familiar. That reminds me of 94.
Yeah.
And, after just talking, accumulating all of the cards in Standard, I started moving up to Modern, and then I moved back into Legacy Vintage, and then I was like, wait, there's a new level that wasn't there. Like it's like an RPG. The game of Magic the Gathering and the game of TCGs. It's like an RPG. You start out at level 1, you walk in, you open up a Kaladesh or Ixalan or Dominaria or M20 booster pack, and then it just the rabbit hole goes so deep. Yeah. Then after I got the duels and the power, I was like, wait, there's a new level. There's a whole new level unlocked.
A whole other world.
Another world, exactly. And then I got my first graded cards. I think the first graded card I purchased was an unlimited 7.5 Black Lotus. And
good start.
Yeah, I did.
It's a good start.
Yeah, and I had heard about.
Do you still have it?
No. Since I probably flipped it in 19 because I had upgraded. You know how it is.
Yeah.
When 7.5, then you want a silver label, then you want a 9, then you want a 9.5. Yeah, it's always exactly. Even that is a game of levels. So yeah.
Yep. That's interesting. Yeah, I was similar story. I had started, like I said, in Kaladesh block, and I was playing, and somebody played one of those Kaladesh inventions, and I had never seen one before, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And I was browsing eBay, and I came across a PSA graded Kaladesh sword, Sword of Fire and Ice, and I was like, wow, what's that?
Yeah.
And, I had no idea.
It's a beautiful card.
Yeah, I had heard of graded cards, but never really it just was something that didn't occur to me. Like I'd heard people grade cards, randomly, but never thought about actually owning one. And I just kind of impulse buy bought it, and it was just freaking downhill from there.
Yeah.
That's how it all started.
Let me just say that I remember this because I knew we were going to do this show. I look back at that journey, and I distinctly remember when I saw the 7.5 BGS Lotus, I did see 8s, 8.5s, and 9s, and even 9.5s, and I was like, this is BS. They're both the same card. How come the 7.5 is worth X, and then the 9.5 is worth 5X? Let me just get the 7.5 because I know I'm getting a Lotus, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a farce. This is a little dog and pony show. I mean, it might still be a farce. It might still be a dog and pony show. But guess what? There are hundreds of thousands of collectors that believe in the value and believe in the gap between conditions and the premium that the conditions fetch, plus the authenticity. And then later on, I began to get into the nuance of it all.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's a good segue to what do you think right now are the biggest opportunities in the graded card marketplace? And when I say that, I mean either raws that haven't been graded yet, or graded cards that you think are undervalued. Any particular sets or any particular cards that you think are a good opportunity for good future in terms of financial growth over the next few years.
Okay, that's a complex question, but because I'm about to make a video on this, I just want to mention the Fool's Gold. I don't know if you mentioned this in the past before.
Fool's Gold.
Fool's Gold. The worst thing you could possibly do in grading is go on TCG Player, buy out near mint cards, and even think that you have a shadow of a chance of getting 9.5.
Did you see my Willow Priestess video?
I did not. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have your whole catalog.
No, you're like
I've
literally
watched about half of your videos for the past 6 months. Is Will Priestess more than 6 months old?
Willow Priestess. Yeah, it's a Homelands card.
No, I'm saying the Willow Priestess episode.
It was, I don't know, it was a few months ago. But anyway, it was like you were literally talking about what I did. I made a video about how I purchased over 100 copies of Willow Priestess in near mint condition off of TCG Player because I wanted to grade one because I liked the card and it was cheap. I was like, whatever. I bought like 20. They all came. I was like, wow, these are all shit. What am I doing? Then I ordered another 10, another 20, and then I eventually I was just like, all right. All these that are less than a certain amount, I was like, I'm just gonna order them, and I literally have a handful, none of which I'm confident are 9.5.
Like, could you even get to 9.5?
Honestly, I don't even think any of them. I'm going to try, but I no confidence in it.
I'm doing the same thing, or I've already done the same thing, and there are some copies, some cards, even small like 5-10 cent revised cards that I purchased over 300 copies of just to find. And just because I'm a stubborn guy, I'm like there has to be something out there from 1994 that's in pristine condition that I can grade. It's only 5 to 10 cent cards. How hard could it be?
How hard could it be?
But yeah, don't do it. Don't do yourself a favor. Anything before 2005, that's the worst possible. That's reverse EV. That's the worst thing you could do. Buying on a platform thinking that you will get something pristine ever and gradable, because that's just never going to happen.
Yeah. It's very hard. Hard.
That said, I want to answer your question about.
So what's a good buy? What's a good buy? Hey, I just got into graded Magic cards. What do you think I should get? I don't have I don't have 10 grand to spend on a Mox Sapphire, but I want something that is hasn't totally spiked yet. What's it?
It's been said so many times, but if you want to buy something that's already graded, I would say either an unlimited common or an alpha common, because unlimited cards are the first whiteboarded cards ever, and they're cheaper than alpha.
Like one of these.
And yes, that's really nice. That's a beta though, but
beta.
Alpha, beta, ABU.
ABU commons, even basic lands.
Absolutely,
they're beautiful.
I say A and U. B's somewhere in the middle because it was like the middle child. But if you want value, you go alpha. If you want cheap, affordability, economical, you go unlimited. Beta's somewhere in the middle for all of that. And the pricing literally falls you know your pricing. Somewhere in between alpha and unlimited is beta. And you don't want to go too hardcore because some of those alpha and unlimited rares are way too expensive.
Crazy
but $100 can get you a really nice unlimited card. $300 to $500 can get you a nicely graded alpha common card. And that won't break the bank, and there's a lot of growth. In terms of what you mentioned, raw, like going raw cards, I would say things that are really iconic, things even from Throne of Eldraine, War of the Spark, Neon Kamigawa, Double Masters. If there's a card that you're like, hey, I really like this card, I like this art, I like this rendition of this card, and I'm gonna go grade it because it looks like it's in pristine condition. I recently got an offer for I've got the Pop 1 Force of Will 10 in Double Masters 1.
Oh, is it the full art?
The full art Force of Will 10 with that nice
Scott,
lady.
Is it Scott
Fishman,
the
yeah,
art.
some-
The
yeah.
artwork on that, beautiful card.
Yep. Beautiful card. That art sold for $75,000. The original art, it was really sizable. And I've got the Pop 110. Not only is it Pop 1 in Force of Will, there's only 110 ever graded in Double Masters out of I think 700 cards graded, and I graded that card myself.
Nice.
I turned down a $4,000 offer for it. I think the card's only worth raw $200 or something like that.
Wow. Those 10s,
10 basic, yeah. And if you hit a 10 in one of the new sets, you can really hit the premiums out of the ballpark.
I'm still waiting for my first 10. I still haven't got one. So I'll say a couple of things in terms of opportunities in the market.
What do you think?
So I think one of the things that has a good trajectory are commander playable reserve list cards. That's like a niche that I've kind of been chipping at for the last couple years. So cards like Dream Halls, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Diamond, Gaia's Cradle.
Oh wow!
Like those cards are so popular in Commander. Like I play a lot of Commander, and I follow a lot of Commander YouTube channels and things like that. And there's a huge segment of the MTG population that that's their Mox.
Okay.
Like when they think of oh man, the card that I want to get one day, it's not necessarily a Mox Sapphire, it's a Mox Diamond that they can play in their Commander deck. And the same thing with Gaia's Cradle. There's a lot of people who it's Bazaar of Baghdad, I'd rather have a Gaia's Cradle. And
I don't disagree with you, David, but I just want to ask you, are you aware of the pricing from the Icarus auctions these past 3 to 4 weeks?
No.
Kid Icarus on eBay?
I mean, I've watched, some of them. I don't know them all off the top of my head.
Okay. Actually, they've gone really crazy. A Lotus Petal was $350. Transacted a 9.5 Lotus Petal, I believe. Lake of the Dead 9.5 basic was $900.
What?
And yeah.
Okay, hang on. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
The Kid Icarus.
Yeah, I know Kid Icarus on eBay.
He's been holding these auctions this past month, and 3 to 4 weeks ago, a big batch. A friend of mine used to own it. He consigned it to Kid Icarus. A big batch of Silver Age just went on Kid Icarus, and all of those Dream Halls and Mox Diamond, all of those cards that you mentioned, just spiked up. There was a flash Silver Age surge, and it's been maintained pretty well. I mean, I run these groups, so I get this information, and I also am an avid fan. I've also graded plenty of quad Mox Diamonds, and I go out there. My colleague, your guest from a couple weeks ago, just graded the Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah, he got a 10.
Yeah, he got a 10. Yeah, exactly.
He got some nice dough for that.
Thing went for ridiculous amounts. There just seems to be a huge...
Survival of the Fittest. That's another good one.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Huge card.
Yep. So I don't want to say that your information's late. I agree with you, but it's already happening. It's already in process. It's happening already. So yeah, it seems like the cards that are base $50 to $500 ungraded in your mint in Silver Age, up to $1,000. Gaia's Cradle for sure. Yeah. They are going gangbusters right now because the high graded ABUR, I call it the top 8, are ABUR and the 4 Horsemen in the highest grades. I think the window for that has already passed. That ship has sailed. I agree with Rudy on this one. That ship has already sailed.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking to pay 5 figures for those gold label, the sexiest cards in gold labels in those sets, you're not really gonna make a mark there.
Yeah. That's something that we talked about when I was talking with James Curry about. Is I used Time Spiral from Urza's Saga as an example. In terms of a card that I think could say double over the next few years, I could totally see Time Spiral from Urza's Saga going from, let's say, in 9.5 condition, going from a $300 to $400 card to being a $700-800 card.
Yeah,
I could
raw,
totally
right?
see that.
You mean
no, graded.
Graded. Oh, okay.
I mean, apparently, maybe the 9.5s are already fetching that amount.
They're up there already.
They're up there. But these cards, they're really popular, and the ones that are getting like they're getting scooped up and they're going into decks. Like they're not gem mint anymore. Like I know that there's the print run, all these a lot of people say, oh, but the print run is so high on these. Like the print run is higher, but people are literally still buying these cards to play them in decks every week with their friends. Like it's not like, with some of these like really high end, Arabian cards or alpha cards. Like, most people who are buying those aren't buying them to play in their commander deck. So,
probably not. Although there's Alpha 40, there's a population of MP and LP alpha cards going around in the community. Shout out to the Alpha 40 group.
Alpha 40.
That's a great group. Great Facebook group. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Reserve List Silver Age is definitely a market that I think has a pretty bright future.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
You can just track Time Twister, because that is
Time Twister.
Is the commander card.
It's the commander card. That's
right?
The ultimate commander card.
Yes, and it went from the 9th in Power 9 up to number 2, sometimes number 3, depending on what printing of the Time Twister you're talking about.
Yeah. That card went crazy.
Yep.
So let's shift gears. Let's talk about risks in the market. Cards that are maybe overvalued or are just now is not the right time for them. It's no secret, like you're a financial guy, obviously. Like the equities market in general has gone to more or less complete shit in terms of like the stock market. A lot of stocks have lost 50 to 70%. Like big companies like Netflix, totally fell off a cliff. And now is a really it's a really trying time for a lot of people in terms of like, the money they have to invest, the amount of cash they have to invest in, people who are looking for cash, things like that. So let's talk about risks in the market. One of the things I'll start off. One of the things that I think is risky are portal cards, P3K cards, 7th edition foils, old border foils, things like that. I know that there's a good following for these cards, particularly 7th edition foils, portal cards, old border foils.
Yep.
I personally believe that anything that has financial value that Wizards can reprint, they are going to reprint it. It's just a matter of time. We saw it with Imperial Seal, Warrior's Oath. They're already doing these the time spirals. Time Spiral is already giving you old border foil treatment on cards that were previously only available in sets from way back in the day and in the early 2000s. So myself personally, I am not into 7th edition foils, P3K, or even old border foils, grading them.
I agree with you on P3K, and I think that is niche, and there's a lot of
super
risk
niche
there.
also.
It is super niche.
Very niche.
There's not that many people that want to actually actively collect it, and as time passes on, there's fewer and fewer people that are like, oh, I remember that was a hot set or a hot card. Yeah. And I was also aware there was a time not too long ago, like literally pre-2020, pre-COVID, 2019, P3K boxes were as low as 6.5 to 8,000 for a sealed box. Then, because of that crazy COVID money printer go burr surge, they went up to close to 30,000 a box. Maybe more, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe more, viewers. I don't know. But then they went back down. And that was the trend for a lot of the sealed product market during that crazy 6 months, followed by these recent 12 months have been really tough on the market. Everything swelled up and gone down, and the adjoining graded cards like Portal 3 Kingdoms have also gone up and come back down. However, I want to disclose that I do have a pretty sizable position of 7th edition foils. Okay. But the reason why I have a sizable position in 7th edition foils is because I believe they're volatile, so there's risk. With anything, there's risk. But I think the long-term viability of holding 7th edition foils is very, very high. I had nothing to do with the transaction for, what was it called? The number 2 Final Fortune that just transacted last week for 3.6 thousand on eBay. There's a 9.5 basic Final Fortune. Like that card, I think raw's like $500. There's a 7.2x premium on a 9.5 basic, and it's not even the best one in the world. I graded like the number 2. By grade, it was number 2. By actual card quality, if you buy the card, it was probably the best Shivan Dragon ever printed or ever sent to grading, and that fetched a 5-figure amount.
Oh, 7th edition foil?
Shivan Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, that. I've never been lucky enough to grade one of the top birds of paradises in the world, but
those birds are really nice.
Yes,
in 7th
yes,
edition.
the 7th edition birds.
That's a nice one.
I know a gentleman that holds at least 3 of the top graded birds, and he's probably taking them with him to the grave. Like, the people that are holding these assets, I happen to know a good amount of them personally. I'll never mention their names publicly, but there's just almost no amount of realistic money that will encourage them to part with the assets.
Wow.
And just recently I tried bidding on 5 MOL sets. The Magic Online 7th edition sealed sets. Because I opened up 2, and I had the best run in history, because I think only Brian Nocenti and myself have ever publicly opened up MOL sets from 7th edition foils.
Okay.
And I crushed it with a 40% 9.5 rate, and I had that batch of 100, or that MOL box, generated 3 out of the 7 9.5 true quads in the entire population. I mean, when you grade 1,000 7th edition foils and there's only 7 true quads out of 1,000, like, that's a really hard set to grade, but it's also really fun to grade.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right on. So what do you?
Okay, so sorry that I was trying to. I was giving my input on 7th edition.
Yeah, no.
Rudy's talked about it.
Yeah,
the clouding,
he has talked about it.
Even Mike Alpha Hoarder has talked about it.
Yeah.
There's so few pristine copies. They will never print anything of that quality because the Wizards of 2022, they just don't have it in them to put their heart or put the actual spirit of Wizards of the Coast into a set anymore.
That's gone forever.
Yeah, it's gone forever.
It's gone forever.
It's been gone since like 2005 or early 2000s. So they're never gonna put that attention to detail in it.
Yeah, I will say I use a lot of 7th edition foil basic lands in my decks that I actually play with because they just look so damn good.
They are really
so
sexy.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
So yeah, talk about risks. Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff that's overvalued, stuff you don't see a good future on. Why are people grading these? Why are they holding them?
I would say that the reward is also, it's a simple economic concept. Where there's risk, there's reward, right? So just like we had agreed that there's a lot of reward potential in Silver Age, especially in Silver Age Commander and Silver Age Reserve List. Silver Age non-reserve list, huge amount of risk. You just mentioned the first one, Imperial Seal. I probably have I think I have the nicest graded Judge Foil Imperial Seal in the world. I think it's a Quad Plus or Plus Plus. And I also have a Quad Plus regular Imperial Seal, which is like ranked number 3 or number 4. And I was never going to sell them anyway, but they reprinted Imperial Seal.
Sure
and now it feels like, with the Double Masters printing of Imperial Seal, my best graded Imperial Seals in the world are Dog Do, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the reserve list. So it's a double-edged sword. Silver Age that is reprinted, or that can be reprinted, that's non-reserve list, it could be a 10. And because of the reprints, it's going to damage the value.
Yeah.
So that's a huge swath. There's a lot of Silver Age, or there's a lot of cards that were printed in Silver Age, like Force of Will, for example, right? That can be reprinted whenever. Right? And it's being reprinted right now.
And it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Being reprinted a lot. Yeah, Force of Will is a good example because, obviously everybody knows this. If Force of Will was a reserve list card, it'd probably be $1,000 card just because how much it's played.
Oh my god.
But it seems like there's probably that's probably minimum.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like Force of Will is a good example. Like there's almost like a cap on how much Force of Will is going to be worth. I remember I had a few 9.5 Force of Wills and It's a $300 card, $400 card. It's never going to be a $1,000 card. Never.
It will never be.
It's never going to be. Never.
It's almost as if Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, is looking at the secondary market, and when Sports of Will goes to $120, like, you know what? Let's reprint it so that it goes back to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Let's just cash in that card equity.
Just enough. Yeah. So continuing on with the Silver Age, another thing that I've seen come up is people saying that the Silver Age is hot right now, but people are sending in so many copies of these cards. There's going to be a wave of Silver Age coming in. It's all going to be high grade, and these cards are going to come back. These cards are going to come back down, and there's not enough support in the market to support the prices. Any thoughts on that take?
I would say that the market is rather healthy right now, and I would say that it looks like, at least in Magic the Gathering, we hit a bottom a few weeks ago, or a month and a half ago, and things are actually coming back. I'm hearing from a lot of people as of mid to late July, do you follow the market last week? This and that sold, and look, that like that Final Fortune, that 7th edition foil sold.
Yeah.
Oh, this Mox just, it recovered. This Alpha Mox just went for 20% higher than it would have gone for 2 weeks ago. So, and I mean, I've said this on my other content. It feels like Magic the Gathering follows the upwards trend of crypto. And 6 weeks ago, Bitcoin was down to 17,000.
Yeah, 17,
as of right now, it's
18,000,
what, 24 today?
Yeah.
So
24.
so I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's a correlation. There's definitely a correlation. Thankfully, Magic the Gathering does not share the same drops. So it shares on the increases, but thankfully it doesn't. Like, crypto went from 70K to 20K in no time, right? In 2 months. And Alpha Black Lotus did not go from 200K to what's
40, 30
to 40 or 30,000.
Yeah, no
it
way.
did not go proportional. It might have gone to 150, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say crypto's not good. I have a crypto position, but my thesis has always been that Magic the Gathering follows the uptrend of crypto. It sympathizes a little bit for the downtrend, but it doesn't take that whole ride down.
Yeah.
So Magic the Gathering, in my opinion, is a better hold than crypto, and therefore I own much more MTG than I do crypto.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. It's been actually crazy how, like, I think people really need to put things into perspective, like how bad it has been in the stock market for the last almost a year.
Yeah.
It's been brutal. Big name companies that you would think are worth a lot of money have gotten absolutely destroyed.
Their
and
teeth
lost
kicked in.
70 to 80% of their value gone. Like, that has not happened in Magic. Like, I am actually honestly thankful. Like, I've never really talked about this before, but a lot of the cash that I use to buy Magic cards I get from stock trading. I like stock trading. I'm in and out. I do kind of like swing trading type stuff. I can't tell you how glad I am that I have limited my exposure
You've
to
got
the
a
stock
moat.
market
Yeah.
and put it into
MTG is
Magic.
the diversification.
That's right. That's the diversification.
It's where the safe money is. Like,
It
what type
is.
of world are we living in?
It's crazy,
right?
But it's true, because there's like unlimited Mox Sapphire is never going to be $1,000 again one day. Maybe in the worst of times it's going to be a $3,000 card or something, go from 5,000 to 3,000, but it's never going to have that type of collapse, because I think there's just too much support in the market
there's too
to
little
support
supply.
that.
There's too many wealthy people that need somewhere to divest their funds, and I think you mentioned it perfectly. Some of the largest companies literally in the world are down up to 80% in these past 6 to 12 months, and MTG Alpha is even.
Yeah.
Some
5,
cases,
10%, 20 maybe.
At worst, I would say at worst down 10, and some cases up 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think Lightning Bolt has actually outperformed the rest of Alpha. It's actually up these past 12 months.
Wow.
Good old Lightning Bolt.
Good old Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, and then it's Alpha and Arabian Nights graded that has, I believe, been the most resilient, simply because there's just not enough. When people are looking to flee, high net worth people are looking to flee into safe haven assets. Yeah, I think crypto was there for a little bit, but then they bought a lot of graded Alpha and graded Arabian, and as a result, they're not like, it's like, oh crap, my stock portfolio is down 80%. Let me sell the safest asset I have.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to do that.
Not going to do it.
Yeah, I haven't sold a single share of stock or a single share of crypto. Why am I gonna liquidate the assets that have not gone down and maybe even gone up a little bit during this time?
Yeah, and I agree with you on the market finding a bottom. Like I've seen it too. And that's why I've been picking stuff up the last couple of months, because I think we are kind of finding a bottom in equities and MTG. But
absolutely.
All right, let's
couldn't agree more.
So that was episode 1. There's going to be a second part to this where we talk about all kinds of more topics just like this. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really had a good time talking to Saint, and I just think it's so awesome that we have a platform here on Gem and MTG to bring conversations like this to the world of graded cards. It's a great thing, and I really appreciate Saint coming over here and doing this with me. And another thing that I'll say is, Saint is a great guy. Magic has a very special way of bringing people together, and I had never met Saint before. We had chatted online a little bit, but it was just amazing to me that you can sit down with somebody that you've never met before and just click like that and have a common bond that brings you together like Magic does, and specifically graded cards. It's a niche market for sure. We are in a niche market, but we're a close knit community, and it's just awesome to meet people like Saint and just click so well with them and be able to talk about this kind of stuff. So I really appreciate Saint coming out here, and I'm really looking forward to releasing the second half of this conversation. Stay tuned for that, coming out tomorrow. All right, see you around.